And welcome into the Gabe Show featuring Jared Koller. It's KC Sports Tonight. Backed by popular demand, Mr. Swartz is here. Truth be told, the original plan was to have Marlia Campbell on today's show, but she said, Jared, I'm too big for this show. All right, I am known for my Team of the Week shoots, so you can look for that on air tomorrow. Where was she? Who was the winning high school Hy-Vee Team of the Week? That's Stardom featuring Marlia Campbell. Spoiler alert right there.
If you know, you know.
Even that, Gabe has his influence. I tell you, things are coming up, Swartz, man. But no, Marlia said, peace out, Jared. I don't want to talk with you. And so we've got Gabe back, which I'm excited about because it's a juicy conversation around our top topic. Now, I think the Chiefs are obviously a big deal right now, and they are the lead of my 6 o'clock sportscast if you tune in at 6:20 on the air. But for 5:30, Gabe, I thought it was important to lead with the Royals because I think this is arguably the biggest game of the season. I think this is like a playoff game level of importance tonight at the K, even though it's not like a playoff game because the Royals won't have Lucas Erceg available and they're starting their 6th best starting pitcher. So most postseason games the Royals play in will have Lucas Erceg and Alec Marsh in the bullpen. So it's not quite like that, but from importance, from vibes, this is a massive game. So let's start there.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I think it probably is the biggest game of the year when you consider a win pretty much puts them in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like that was kind of the thing that we were hinting at earlier this week is just that getting one of the 3 games would allow. Anyways, the Royals already have the tiebreaker over the Tigers, but if you can be at, what would it be, 4 games up, and then with the tiebreaker, essentially
so
you're
like 5
games up
yeah.
On the Tigers, that is critical to this final stretch. I mean, there's only 10 games remaining in the season. I think the best analogy, if you're trying to, like, what is it like in terms of you said playoff. It's not going to be like a playoff atmosphere. There's not going to be 30,000 people out there at Kauffman tonight. But it's kind of similar in terms of need and is it a disaster if they lose tonight? Not really. But it's like back in the day when they used to have the World Series go 2 games at one place, 3 games at one place, 2 games at one place. It's the Royals for this playoff spot over the Tigers. It's like they have a 3-1 lead and they're the home team in in Game 5, where you could close it out pretty much, or you could leave the door open, and still the Tigers would have to do a good amount of work in these last 9 games. And
they have
3 of their final 3 games are against the White Sox. So if you get to the end,
2 series coming up
play
against winning teams.
Yeah,
but then the White Sox, which is as close to a guaranteed sweep as you can come.
Yeah, and if you're the Royals, you just want to have this thing over with before you get to Atlanta next weekend, because Atlanta is fighting for their own final NL wildcard spot, and their race against the Mets is way tighter.
Yeah. No, and so that's why I think it's an important test, because I think they went all in on Tuesday, and they lost. You know, they got Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, and Lucas Erceg, their 3 best, like, if you told me that was their Game 1 of the Wild Card Series lineup and they gave up 1 run, I'd say great, and that's what they did, and they lost. They tried to win yesterday, and they didn't, and so now it's about how do they respond, because Erceg threw like 35 pitches, so he's out. Bubich only threw 10 pitches, so I think he's available. And you've got Alec Marsh starting, who last time we saw him struck out 11 guys in Pittsburgh, but has struggled at times this year, and it's a big game. And he's going up against Tarek Skubal, who's the favorite to win the Cy Young. So it's the 4th to last regular season game at the K. I don't know what the crowd will be. As you said, it might not be an electric atmosphere, but from importance to win, I think it is. In part because, yes, they've won 7 of the last 12. I think people have forgotten that, because they've lost 3 straight. Both are true. They've kind of righted the ship, but you don't want a 4-game losing streak. It's something they've done a good job avoiding because they're starting at pitching, and that, especially heading into an off day on Thursday, Gabe, it's an important win across the board after you've struggled with runners in scoring position the last 3 games as well.
Yeah, I think that I really thought last night was going to be the one, because they'd had such a great history with Reagans in games where they needed a stopper, and he was the stopper. They just went 1 for 9 with guys in scoring position, and 2 of those outs were with the bases loaded. So,
couple double plays in there.
It just wasn't
great.
No,
I thought they were going to win until they didn't. Because even they had some innings where it's like, even that last inning, okay, but you got Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez coming up, and Michael Massey played well. I mean, it was, I was confident until I wasn't. And so when we look at their postseason picture as a whole, though, I think people are losing a little bit of sight of just how close they really are, and that even if they were to lose tonight, the odds are still in their favor because they're 82-70 with only 10 games left. They have that 3+ game cushion right now because they have the tiebreaker over the Tigers, and so that's why, to Gabe's point, a win almost seals it. But even a loss isn't insurmountable, and they're that close to making the postseason for the 3rd time in the last 39 years. So I think maybe, if anything, Gabe, I want them to win just to get the fan base back kind of bought in head into the last series, because I think people are now like, oh no, like I don't know if they can – I don't know how another losing streak would go over right now, given how close they are to the postseason, even if they were to make it.
Well, I mean, there's only, 4 games at home left. So if we're being honest, I don't think that the fan support – a good weekend series of fan support would be nice.
Right.
But
it's more so just
like
the overall energy around the team,
I
guess.
And I think that they're going to be – these guys have played pretty solid baseball, even
I agree.
for the last month plus since they came back from Houston. When they've gone on the road, they've been fine. I don't think that the National Series is one to worry a ton about. I do think that it's just a matter of get the hay in the barn this weekend against the Giants. And tonight, everybody's making a big deal out of Skubal, rightfully so.
No,
but
Royals
the Royals hit him well.
And he's lost his last 2 starts against the A's and Rockies. So he's a great – and it wasn't his fault, but this is not a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
Gabe, can I read you a novel?
Sure. I don't know where this is going.
We had some conversations with my friends who are Royals fans, and I put in and this was a novel that I sent, putting into perspective where I'm at with the Royals. Okay, the fact that the Royals have lost the last 3 games doesn't make me mad. It happens. Good teams,
It's baseball.
Exactly. But it's the way they've lost that I think has me a little bit more annoyed than at other times, because they are combined 6 for 32 with runners in scoring position over the last 3 games and have left 24 runners on base. They're not coming through in the clutch in that sense. A single clutch hit any of the last 3 days, and I think things are different, but instead it's 3 one-run losses. That's incorrect. Yesterday was a 2-run loss, but it came in extra innings. So essentially, had they had 1 clutch hit any of the last 3 games, I think they win any of those games, but they didn't have any. And Monday wasted a Bobby Witt Jr. grand slam. Tuesday wasted, as I said, Reagan's Bubitz Irsay going 9 innings, 1-run ball, and a loss. Now you face Skubal in what's as close to a must-win, I think, is this series with your 6 starter on the mound. This doesn't change how I feel about their.
Respect on Alec Marsh's name.
But it's that. But it is what it is.
I know.
Out of the starters, I'm least confident in him, I would say. But it doesn't change my postseason stance at all. But I do think these last 3 games, Gabe, have cost them a chance of clinching at home. Now, best case scenario, they do that Sunday if everything goes right, but that's a slim shot. I think it's cost them the division, probably so. And
that's over.
And probably cost them hosting a wild card series. I know that's not completely out of the picture, but it's a lot tougher now.
And especially
that
because
sucks.
Doesn't am I incorrect in saying Baltimore plays Detroit?
Yep.
So in theory, you would
right.
you want Baltimore to just beat Detroit and help.
Yeah, unless you're winning out. So
unless you're just sweeping the Giants and sweeping the Nationals.
So there's still a route, but it's tougher than had they won a couple of these games. And I, as I mentioned for the fans, I think it halted fan optimism and momentum yet again in a time where I personally wanted it to ramp up. As we push towards this historic postseason, because I don't think the casual fan realizes how close they actually were to winning all 3 of these games. They just see the losses, which at this point in the year is all that matters. Because keep in mind, they're still actually closer to hosting a wild card series than they are to missing the playoffs right now where they stand. So it's not like they're on the verge of missing it. But some numbers. Tommy Pham is hitting 160 in his last 25 at-bats with 1 extra base hit. Freddie Fermin hitting 175 in his last 57 at-bats with 0 extra base hits. MJ Melendez hitting 111 in his last 36 at-bats, 2 extra base hits. Paul DeYoung hitting 163 in his last 43 at-bats with 1 extra base hits. They don't all have to hit, okay? They just need one of those guys coming through, or just one guy outside of Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez coming through once a game to help fill that Vinny Pasquantino void. I don't care who it is. They just need someone, and no one is. That's where I don't think it's asking too much for a slight improvement there, and why I think they will improve. But it's just a big blown opportunity the last 3 days for what was shaping up to be a really awesome week. It still could be. But
have you seen who's hitting cleanup tonight?
Robbie Grossman.
Yeah.
With the season in the biggest game of the year. All right. We'll see what the heck happens. That's where, again, my playoff optimism is not down at all, because I think playoff baseball is weird, anything can happen. But it was looking better, and it's just annoying how close they were, and they didn't come through. All right. Enough about the Royals, Gabe, because the Chiefs today, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes talked, always a big deal. And today they talked easily the biggest topic was Kareem Hunt, who we saw for the first time in the practice field today wearing number 29. He officially signed to the practice squad. Your first impressions of the Kareem Hunt news?
The jersey number matches his age, which is a good reminder. And Andy Reid was pretty honest. He was like, 29's old for running back. And I think that was him tempering everyone's expectations. I think him saying, well, he could play this week, but maybe it's next week and maybe it's the week after that. Like, who knows? I feel like the likeliest outcome is that he's playing next week.
I agree.
And especially with how slow they were to ramp Samaje Perine up, other than the fact that Andy Reid has said that they know that Kareem knows how to run all of the base install runs, which is like, yes, those are not changing. It's still Andy Reid. It's still Matt Nagy. Mm-hmm. I said this to Marlia yesterday, like, aside from the fact that it's a familiar name and a familiar face to Chiefs fans, like, it is just, to me, it's just a signing. Like, they had to sign someone. They did. I think that's what makes it interesting, is that there's all of the extra, I guess, baggage or storyline that you have to bring along, and that's why I'm a little shocked that the Chiefs actually ended up doing this. Mm-hmm. I think that what he was in 2018, that was so long ago that it's just not even reasonable to expect, and all of the advanced stats show you that he's started to decline. So I guess the hope would be that there were also things that were pointing toward Jerick McKinnon declining before he came over to the Chiefs a couple years ago, and given the role in his situation, he was able to take advantage and be a lot more productive than anybody ever would have thought that he was going to be. So we'll see if that translates. But my expectations are not super high for this. I am mostly intrigued to see how Carson Steele takes advantage of the opportunity.
Sure. Well, that's where I agree, and that's where I think I've been burned too many times of late, where guys have been brought in and a big deal is made by people. I think first example, LaShawn McCoy. Second example, Le'Veon Bell. Third example, Josh Gordon. But at the time I was working here at K-5, we're kind of treating it the same. Like, oh, what's Josh Gordon going to do? And even I'd say Kadarius Toney.
It's because all of these signings, they're guys that Adam Schefter's making a graphic for and putting up a
their
breaking
names,
sign.
But they're all past their prime.
Yes.
And that's where it's just like, where is Kareem Hunt going to play for the Chiefs? I think probably yes. I think he'll make it off the practice squad. But, like, is he going to have a needle-moving difference? I don't think so. But do I give him more of a chance than I gave Le'Veon Bell or LaShawn McCoy or Josh Gordon? Probably. And so that's where I asked the question, do you think he'll be closer? I don't think he's going to be Jerick McKinnon level.
No.
But do you think he'll be closer to Jerick McKinnon or closer to Le'Veon Bell?
I think he'll be closer to like a LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy had a couple.
Okay, so kind of down the
moments,
middle then.
But
all right,
Le'Veon Bell had what, like one
touchdown
in
New Orleans.
in the New Orleans game. Yeah, but I think that he'll have, just because he's going to get some goal line touches. But between the shift of like Andy Reid saying, I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, it sounds like, based on the fact that Ian Rappaport's reporting that there was no damage to the ligaments, that the timeline is probably more 6 to 8 weeks. If it's only 8 weeks for Isaiah Pacheco, if he's back by week 11, which would be late November, Thanksgiving time, if that's the case, then I think you even more temper your expectations for what any of the three running backs do. And it is helpful that one of the weeks that he's going to miss is a bye week. And B, we'll just see what the passing attack looks like, because they're gonna they need Mahomes to play better than he has in the first 2 weeks, and Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, but especially the second week, I think. To your point about the Andy Reid thing, that's something I was also talking to Marlia today, because she saw the season might be back next season. I think Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches of all time. You could make a case that he's the greatest head football coach in NFL history. I'm happy to make that case. His injury updates, you have to take with a grain of salt, which is not a slight on Andy Reid, it's not a slight on the Chiefs or their PR. Like, they're doing everything they're supposed to do. It's just he's not required to accurately predict the future like those source reporters, like you mentioned, Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter, might be more trustworthy. Like, I think Andy Reid just covers his bases and gives, the
broadest possible
view.
Update.
And we saw it. I think the most iconic moment was the Eric Berry saga, where he said Eric Berry was day-to-day for 4 months. And, he kind of was, but it's just like you can't – that led us to think every week he might be back, whereas we've just seen it time and time again with injuries – where, again, I throw no shade to Andy Reid, but him saying that today doesn't make me think at all that Isaiah Pacheco may not come back till next year. Well, sure, if he gets hurt in the rehab process or something crazy, then okay. And so that's why Andy says that. But that doesn't – I'm not worried about that being a reality at all, because odds of that are so slim. And so that's where I just, one, in this business, we report the news, and that was a headline. But it's one that I would say Chiefs fans take with a grain of salt. So.
Yeah, I just don't I don't know what to expect for Sunday night if Kareem Hunt will play or not. It's possible he's in an active uniform and doesn't take a snap.
I don't think he will.
But I don't think that's the likely outcome.
Yeah.
Especially that they activated Keontae Ingram today.
And even this Kareem Hunt's a different player. You see the stats on your screen. He played 28 games for the Chiefs. And more that when you include his one playoff against the Titans and his receiving yards, he totaled more than 3,000 yards in 2 years. Just incredible 2 years. And then he spent 5 years in Cleveland, which some of it were productive. But as Gabe mentioned, now he's 29 years old, and it was September 15th, and he was unemployed. So I just encourage Chiefs fans to keep their expectations in check. With that said, though, Gabe, when we look at the Sunday game, I'm kind of curious if the Cardiac Chiefs are going to return, in the sense that, are we going to have another game that goes down to the final play or the final 2 minutes? Like, do you think there's going to be, running out the clock, some kneel down, or do you think this is another one where the hearts are going to be pounding in the ATL?
Probably. You have the perfect recipe for it. You have the Chiefs, who you have that Mahomes clip from when he had the match a couple years ago, and he's like, you know what I do? I just play close games. You have Kirk Cousins, who leads the league in fourth quarter / overtime go-ahead drives.
Sneaky good quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
I think it was dates to 2016 or 2015 or something along those
lines.
Sneaky
clutch quarterback. Yeah.
And then you have the Atlanta Falcons, who typically play games where either they or their opponent steals victory from the jaws of defeat pretty much weekly. That's kind of if you're someone who pays attention to the NFL at large, that's the thing that the Atlanta Falcons do. They typically do that in the 1 o'clock window of games, but they did it on Monday night last week against the Eagles. So yeah, I think this one is going to come down to the end. It just always does, and it'll just be a matter of Are Chiefs fans expecting a comeback with the offense or the defense? Because we've had that the first 2 weeks where it's the defense trying to preserve things and then it's the offense trying to steal things the last 2 weeks, and they got it done both times.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm by no means am predicting a blowout. I do predict a season best performance by the offense, which you could argue is a low bar. I would argue scoring 27 points against a good Ravens defense. I actually think the offense was better. Even though the final numbers might not have been there, but I expect them to put up some points. But I also expect the defense to take a little bit of a step back too, because I think they maybe have been playing a little bit better than they might be for this season, and I think Atlanta can throw the ball, and that can lead to some big plays. But I want to get your take on that little thing that I threw at the bottom. Patrick Mahomes' 12-0 career record in dome games. Why do you think that is, and should they even play on Sunday night, or should they just say, all right, Chiefs, you win?
I don't want to get too ahead of my skis, because I think last week on Tuesday I was on this show with Marlia, and I said my concern level with the Bengals game was a 1 out of 10.
Oh, well, that was dumb.
And that was really dumb. That was a little reactionary to how bad the Bengals looked against the Patriots.
Because the Bengals always start the year really great and don't turn it on.
Exactly.
Reminder: Joe Burrow now 1-9 in his career in the first 2 weeks of the season.
1-2, yeah. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself with any predictions about what the Chiefs will or won't do. I think that half of that dome stat is that, yes, if you put Mahomes in a perfect environment, he's going to be optimal. And then second, it's that he gets to play in Las Vegas and in LA
at least twice a year. Yeah.
And the Chiefs have dominated that division. So
yeah, I just thought it was crazy. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy Patrick Mahomes stats that you can find, and a lot of them circulating on his 29th birthday. That was yesterday, so happy birthday one day later to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you guys had a cake, if you guys blew out candles or celebrated that. But,
we didn't.
Well, that's a shame on Marlia.
I will say the last time that he played in this stadium, he uncorked the 70-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill in the preseason.
Yeah,
yes.
Because in 2020 was one of the weirder games that they probably should have lost against the Falcons at home in that pandemic year, where he was
targeted as a receiver.
Sammy
on
Watkins
a 4th down.
threw an interception. That's what I was trying to explain. Yeah. I was saying he was targeted on an interception where he ran a route, and then also at the 2-minute drill, they were driving for the game-winning score, and he threw a dud of a pass to a Falcons defender who just dropped it. And that always – then the narrative came up, how many interceptions have been dropped by Patrick Mahomes, which is stupid. Just as dumb as – oh, my – Gabe, have you seen the thing about, Patrick Mahomes has so many interceptions called back?
Yeah, Bill Barnwell had a really great thread.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's what I was referencing. Chiefs fans, if anybody outside of Kansas City gives you crap for that, look up that thread, because it's ridiculous. Along those lines, if you think the Chiefs get more help by the referees than the average NFL team, you're delusional. All right, I don't think the data backs that up one bit. Okay, some Chiefs fans would argue the refs are out to get the Chiefs. I also wouldn't say that, with the exception of maybe Carl Cheffers. But nonetheless, it's the narratives that you see on social media, Gabe, drive me crazy.
Just enjoy this era of Chiefs football. Just know that the one thing that Patriots fans didn't get to do in the early 2000s is watch people on Monday and Tuesday just wallow in misery at, oh my goodness, they rigged it for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and the big bad Midwest huge market Kansas City Chiefs got it rigged for them again.
I tell you,
enjoy it, Chiefs fans.
That's why I find the Royals so endearing, because it's the polar opposite
of the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are hated, and the Royals are
every national
irrelevant
story.
by a lot of baseball fans, just because they came out of nowhere, and I think Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez have helped the Royals' cause. But, I mean, nationally, the Royals haven't been cared about by fans for a while, and so that's where I like having my cake and eating it, too, where I can root for Darth Vader and for Luke Skywalker, okay? I can root for both. That's our life in Kansas City. All right, Gabe, we'll wrap up just with some news and notes. Tonight, Sporting Kansas City in action at Children's Mercy Park, 7:30 against the Colorado Rapids. There are just 5 Major League Soccer regular season matches remaining. So if you want to go check out some soccer here in Kansas City, tonight's a great night to do that. The weather is nice. Sporting also has the U.S. Open Cup final, but that is on the road in Los Angeles coming up at the end of the month as well. And on October 25th, the Kansas men's basketball team will scrimmage at Arkansas. That'll be the first game that John Calipari kind of coaches. I mean, it's a scrimmage game, so this would be a lot bigger deal if they scheduled it at an actual game. That's why I don't put that much higher, but it's a cool little nugget. Or it'd be a cooler deal, I think, if it was at Allen Fieldhouse. But either way, we got that going on. So as we wrap up on this Wednesday, Gabe, any other thoughts you want to get out there about any local sports nuggets?
I don't have anything. Nope.
Wow.
All good.
Let the record show I gave Gabe the floor, and he just said, I've said all I need to say. There's nothing on my heart.
Yep, I'm good.
No shout-out to Clint Ryder and the Blue Valley Northwest Huskies?
Check it out tomorrow night. 6 o'clock newscast, 10 o'clock newscast. You'll see them. Skis up. Skis up. That football program is in a great spot.
I will be shooting their game on Friday. I believe they're at Bishop Mage against St. James Academy. I believe that is the plan that I made that I'm thinking off the top of my head. So remember to come back on Friday for our high school football Friday Night Blitz. It's been a weird high school football season. I don't know there's teams that I thought would be better that aren't, and there are teams that aren't that are better. Maybe that's every year, but I feel like this year it's been even more dramatic. So we'll see if that holds up this coming Friday. Saturday, we've got Mizzou taking on Vanderbilt. We got KU looking to get back in the win column, and Kansas State having a night game at BYU. And then Sunday night, we got the Chiefs. Meanwhile, we will have the Royals fighting for a postseason berth. Exciting times here in Kansas City. So thanks for letting K65 be a part of that. Gabe, thanks for hanging out on this Wednesday. We'll see if Marlia wants to return to the show tomorrow. Stay tuned. That's a tease in the business, all right? For now, James Shields salutes you, and we will see you tomorrow.